we all love our cell phones, and that is a challenge for cell phone companies that have to provide good service and be good neighbors. Early Show correspondent Debbie Turner is here to show us how they're doing it. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning to you. Here's the cold hard fact. People want to use their phones whenever and wherever they choose, but many communities feel that cell phone towers are just plain ugly. So some wireless providers are becoming masters of disguise.
Have you ever been driving along the highway and noticed a rather odd-looking tree sticking up above the rest?
What kind of tree do you think that is?
It's a pine tree.
It's a pine tree?
It looks like it anyway.
It's not a tree.
What do you think it is?
I think it's disguised as a tree.
It should have more leaves coming down further, like a real evergreen tree.
What you're looking at is actually a cell phone tower. Many communities have decided that this is easier on the eyes than one of these.
No one really wants that visual pollution. There are certain cities that now have required all the new towers that are being built to be disguised.
Andrew Messing is the president of Larson Camouflage, a company that builds cell phone towers in a wide variety of disguises, from palm trees to water towers to flagpoles.
This is one of our saguaro cacti that's going up to the Phoenix area, and the antennas are concealed inside. They're extremely realistic. People drive by them all the time and they think they're real cacti.
Cell antennas are also being hidden inside all kinds of architecture, like clock towers and fake chimneys.
The site very much dictates how the tower will be disguised. We've done some grain silos in the Midwest because it would look funny to have a 150-foot tall pine tree.
And every antenna comes with electrical equipment, which also must be hidden. In this Colorado site, it's encased in a man-made boulder. And in Arlington, Virginia, this house has the neighborhood fool.
Now, do you camouflage all your cell phone towers?
If we did, you probably couldn't afford your cell phone service. But we do camouflage those ones that we need to.
And the ones they feel they need to disguise are often in communities that put up a fight and refuse to accept a traditional tower. Of the approximately 200,000 cell antenna sites in the U.S., only about a fourth are camouflaged or hidden.
Here we're at the tennis stadium, and we've disguised our cell site to look very much like one of the light poles that illuminates the stadium here.
But for many churches, the wireless problem is a blessing. This Washington congregation receives more than $1,000 a month to allow antennas to operate in their steeple.
It's sort of serendipity that we came to have this, and so I think a lot of churches would like to have it.
But of all the disguises we've seen, our favorite is this site in Staten Island, a cell phone tower made to look like a lighthouse. And it's so realistic that neighbors say it attracts tourists.
They do take photos, have people that do come up, they look at it.
The only giveaway is that it's miles from the ocean.
It's much nicer than what it could be. I mean, would you like that instead of antennas just showing up? Oh, it's beautiful. It's outright beautiful.
And you guys, you know what? With text messaging and video streaming on the rise, wireless companies will continue to be very busy building more towers. And if they do it the way they hope to do it, you won't even notice them.
So is it only the new towers that are going up that look so pretty? It's not like they're taking old existing.
Yes, they're not retrofitting older ones. Usually they're putting up towers in communities, neighborhoods, national parks where people don't want to see a big metal pole, so they're disguised.
But they want their service.
But they want their service, all right. It's sort of the catch-22.
All right, Debbie Turner, thanks.
We know it's declassified. The governments of the world have planned Project Bluebeam, fake alien landings to unify the planet. They are really hyping it now. They had another fake hoax again yesterday in the news saying aliens were going to land yesterday. The Pentagon's promoting all this garbage. What's your view on that?
It's the same old story. They always said they would try something like this. They had a test run initially back in the days of, I think it was Orson Welles, who did the War of the Worlds on radio. And they used Princeton University Psychology Department with the Pentagon funding as well, and Rockefeller funding, to fool Americans thinking this was a real invasion, to see how the public would react. So this is an old idea. They would scare the public enough about invasions would all come together under a common purpose to fight off an alien invasion, that kind of stuff. And of course, it's a great distraction as well. We know too that the UFO cover has been a fantastic cover, alien cover, rather than look at what they're building here. They've been building amazing equipment and flying machines here for over 50, 60 years, and it's covered up their tactics. I call it the flying saucers, what the real jet said are traveling about in these days. That's what it is.
Well, we know. I mean, we know they've suppressed a lot of technology, and that's been proven.
Alex, we have done experiments. We have our own data. We have experiments now from the Soviet Union, 30, 40 years when the Iron Curtain came down, you know, when Glasnost finally prevailed. A huge amount of stuff was declassified from the KGB as well. And we now have put this data together. We not only know what the physics is, we know what it can do, we know what it's based on, we know how to make it work. We've seen in our own experiments ample evidence. We've seen experiments across the American landscape and even in Europe that vindicate various parts of this. And the latest thing I'm working on, it looks like von Braun himself was deeply involved in some of this early physics experimentation. And we've got a paper trail now to what he found that was suppressed by NASA up to and including the current time frame, which allowed us to leapfrog the Russians and go to the moon with Apollo. It's a stunning document.
But Richard, you think they're lying and suppressing things, and certainly they are, but then you believe the entire Apollo program. I mean, I believe we've gone to the moon and things are much more advanced than we know just because the evidence is there, and even mainline science says they're really 30 years ahead of what we're seeing on average, and then even now the exponential growth of things. But then you believe the official story about going to the moon.
It's not a matter of belief, it's a matter of data. You know, again, this is why, if you really want to do this, you got to read the book. You have to read the book. That's why people write books, because you can't do it in an hour and a half.
No, I mean, I've read the book. I mean, I understand, but we're here still having a radio discussion about it.
Well, you got to look at the photographs. The photographs are downloadable from official NASA websites. In addition to Ken Johnston, we now have a bunch of hidden whistleblowers inside the agency who obviously have figured out that something is not, you know, right.
Okay, well, we're going to do a part 2 on that. Then we'll get into all the wild stuff, which, boy, I mean, if that's the case, they're leaking stuff and things like Total Recall.
Yes, of course. Total Recall, by the way, I had a good friend at Fox told me was stolen line for line almost from Monuments to Mars, my first book. And who was Arnie, really?
Richard C. Hoagland, we're having back up for 2 hours in the near future to really get into all the wild evidence he's got. I mean, NASA now basically has admitted they put red filters over the atmosphere to make it look red. They admit now the sky's blue. They found ice all over Mars. I mean, that's the admitted stuff is amazing. Why would they cover that up in the past and say, oh, we put a red filter on to make the contrast better for you, to play along with that? But imagine being members of the elite. They get to fight and jostle and always try to get to the next level of the pyramid, to find out more, to be explorers. It's the ultimate greediness by these people to wall off the general world from true knowledge. I mean, I want to teach people things. I want to learn things. I want to show people things. I guess they love hoarding all the secret knowledge because it gives them the power, but that's what Ray Kurzweil and all these futurists say. And then transhumanists, they say that they get to be the future, and basically we don't, because the elite's going to go forward into the future and the population isn't. We're going to be reduced down to nothing, the useless eaters. But big picture, Richard C. Hoagland.
Well, obviously this has been on my mind from the beginning when I started putting the dots together and realized there were 2 separate realities, actually more than 2, but, you know, 2 will basically, you know, suffice for now. And I've been trying to back engineer what's the end game, what's the big picture. Well, one big picture is that the human race is much older and more extraordinary, astounding, astonishing than anyone has ever been allowed to believe, certainly in modern times. If you go to ancient texts, ancient wisdom, ancient documents, ancient sacred writings, you find ample evidence that the human race is millions and millions and millions of years old, and that we used to have an incredibly fabulous high-tech civilization that allowed human beings to live like gods. And then something happened. The fall, as we term it in the Western idiom, you know, Genesis. And now we're basically living almost at a sustenance level. We're being told now that we have to, in the face of extraordinary physical crises of energy, the life's blood of civilization, without which everybody becomes poor or dead quickly, we're told we have to drill for something which is ridiculous and primitive as oil.
When they have plenty of advanced technologies, they've admitted.
There's incredible advanced technology. So the end game, one of the end games, is if you control people's sustenance, if you control the energy in which they live, the resources which they utilize and the information under which they operate, you control them totally. So one of the games is
and that's
control.
it. We're inside a bottle. We're inside a matrix, not an electronic matrix, but garbage being fed into our cerebral cortexes. And well, listen, I have to tell you, is that's what all this fits into, and that's what my instincts and all of my larger knowledge tells me, is that if you look at humans, we don't act or behave like anything we see Terran. To say we're connected to monkeys and chimpanzees and all the rest of it's a total joke. And then you do look at Mars and all the legends and the rest of it. It isn't Martians, folks. It's us. I mean, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Now, you have titled one of your websites prisonplanet.com. I always thought to myself, what did Alex figure out? Did he realize?
No, that's it. We're in a false reality. I just don't know what it is. I know they're building camps. I know they're poisoning us, dumbing us down, genetic engineering us down. That's all admitted. And I'm trying to branch out now and at least get people thinking about the next level, because all my instincts tell me there's just unbelievable, fabulous things being hidden from us.
Okay, number two, if you get that they're keeping all the good stuff for themselves, the reason is that if we got access to the good stuff, if we got access to the technologies, the energy, we wouldn't be worried about $4, $5 a gallon gas or $10 a gallon gas. We would live like people are supposed to live, all 6 billion of us who could live lightly on the earth, Alex, with this technology.
And live longer.
Absolutely, and better, and you could live to 200-300 and have the virility of your 20s and 30s. There's extraordinary medical breakthroughs. There's extraordinary physics breakthroughs, technology breakthroughs, energy. It's all been kept away because they are supposed to have it, and we're not. So where's that dichotomy come from?
And by the way, folks, don't roll your eyes at all this. We know they're lying and suppressing. We're just trying to find out what it is. Think about it. We're already on a planet hurtling through space. All these wonders around you, and you've been taught it's bizarre to question, and that's because there's so many kooks in the alternative movement who do talk about ridiculous, Hollywood-style green men, instead of really looking at the shadow government and all these crazy secret societies that are admittedly running NASA and the shadow government. Okay.
The lie is different at every level.
The lie is different at every level, and we're trying to expand that and break through those different levels. Okay, Richard C. Hoagland, fire out the websites again.
EnterpriseMission.com and darkmission.net.